The beauty known across the continent, the Emperor's most prized jewel, high society's queen, Agnes Saint, walks through the Knight's Hall, her dress swaying lightly with every step. Yet today, she wears not a gown for a ball, but plain boots and the uniform of a healer for the Black Knights. She enters the commander's office, where a sharp voice greets her with an order. She has a patrol mission alone. The man is curious how much she can really accomplish when all she ever does is wear dresses and admire herself in mirrors. The man before her is none other than the infamous Kylo Grey, a Black Knight. His words sting, but they also make her heart skip. He hands her a small pistol. She tilts her head and replies calmly that she will do her best. Another knight hesitates, worried, and asks what will happen if something dangerous arises. Kylo replies dryly that if it's truly scary, she can just call out to His Majesty. Agnes rolls her eyes at the sarcasm, but inwardly she grins. His low, deep voice stirs something inside her, and the cold, expressionless face she usually sees becomes disarming when he smiles slyly, teasing. For a moment, she thinks she might be in trouble. And yet, when she considers that this perfect-looking man hides an inferiority complex and jealousy beneath his composed exterior, her own heart begins to race. Not long ago, she became unalive by mistake. It wasn't her time yet. So she entered a world inside a novel to make up for her unfair elimination. But there's a problem. The character she takes on has a man she was meant to court for a while, and her relationship with her crush is miserable. Sadly, she's known for being second place in the nastiest personality rankings. She knows that if she continues on this path, changing the original story will be impossible, let alone getting close to Kylo. Her plan is clear. She will make everyone notice Kylo again. His title will become the man for whom the princess abandoned the hero of the Empire and became an obsessed follower. Agnes blinks as the world comes into focus. She's in the princess's body, and the first thing she sees is Kylo. Her heart skips. She recognizes him immediately. Her favorite character, the one she has secretly called Little Kitten for so long. Standing there, in front of him, she feels a strange mixture of joy, fear, and disbelief. And then it hits her. She has slapped him. 3 times. Her hand moved on its own, and she cannot understand it. Her mind drifts to a post she once saw online. It asked what someone would do first if they entered a novel to meet their favorite character. Back then, she had answered simply, she would catch him and feed him all the delicious food in the world. He deserved to live a life far happier than anyone could imagine. She had wanted to make him smile, to protect him, to cherish him. And now, she has done the exact opposite. She feels a little dizzy thinking about it. When he holds her hand, she reacts instinctively. She tells him to let go and questions how he dares touch her with what she calls filthy hands. But deep inside, she knows his hands are not filthy at all. Overwhelmed by the situation, she convinces herself that it must be a dream. Maybe this is all some trick of her mind. But even as she clings to that thought, everything around her feels too vivid, too real. And then, she loses consciousness. Agnes Saint has many titles. She is the Emperor's most treasured gem, the Queen of Society, the most beautiful lady on the continent, and the Empire's own time bomb. She is also the princess who, not long ago, got drunk and caused a scandal at the banquet celebrating the end of the war. That night, she embarrassed herself, the Empire, and the knights who had risked everything for their people. Kylo watches from nearby, feeling a strange mix of pity and frustration. Seeing her treated so carelessly by the Imperial family strikes him as pathetic. When 2 knights approach to check if he is all right, he barely glances at them. He simply tells them to escort Agnes back to the palace, quickly. Complaining would do no good, and yet the situation feels unbearable. The next morning, Agnes wakes in her room. Her head is heavy, her thoughts tangled. She wonders what she should do. Last night felt like a dream, yet every memory is clear to ignore. The moment she slapped Kylo keeps replaying over and over in her mind. Her mind drifts back further, to the day everything began. She had left her favorite character's birthday cafe, feeling light and happy when an accident changed her life forever. In the afterlife, a goddess explained that her death was a mistake, a flaw in the newly created soul collection system. She was never meant to die at that moment. Agnes begged to return to her life, but that was impossible. The goddess offered a new life instead, in any place she chose, real or fictional. Agnes's only request was simple. She wanted to meet her favorite character. At that moment, Agnes realizes something important. She never asked the goddess to make her slap Kylo. The thought lingers for a second, but she quickly pushes it aside. There are bigger problems to deal with. Her body has changed. She now has silver hair with a faint purple touch, bright purple eyes, and features that give her a cat-like appearance. She has reincarnated as Agnes Saint, the villain among villains. The world she has entered is from the novel Infinite Splash, a story about the overpowered hero Raymond Spencer, who fights against demons. The story is so popular online that fans even call it the unification of otakus. In the novel, the version of Agnes she now inhabits is a naive fan of Raymond, but she is also a little unhinged. Her behavior is unpredictable and sometimes reckless. On the day of the war celebration banquet, she made outrageous remarks in front of the knights who had just returned from battle. Later, drunk and careless, she even went to the Black Knights' Hall and caused another scandalous scene. The one who finally stopped her was Kylo Grey. Once a nameless mercenary, now the captain of the Black Knights, he is the eternal rival of Ramond and the person Agnes' greatest adversary. Kylo hates Raymond because of his own insecurities and feelings of inferiority, so whenever they meet, he showers Raymond with curses. Because of all this, Agnes and Kylo are ranked as the top two villains in the story. The arrogant princess and the cold, harsh captain are meant to despise each other completely. And now, as Kylo's biggest fan, she can only sigh in regret. She had wished for this life, but now she realizes she is trapped in it. Deep down, it feels like she is doomed from the very beginning. It's the second day of her reincarnation. Unfortunately, Agnes's body now moves according to her will after the strange incident of slapping Kylo. A maid asks if she still has a headache, and she admits it aches just a little. On the surface, her situation might seem like a simple possession of someone else's body, but the woman who called herself a goddess had explained that her life would be sent back to the beginning of the novel after her reincarnation. True to her words, all her memories of her life as Agnes Saint remain vivid in her mind. She regrets not asking the goddess to let her start completely fresh, but giving up is not in her nature. Determined, she asks a maid where she might find Kylo Grey, remembering the trouble she caused the previous day. From this moment on, she plans to do everything she can to get closer to him. The maid looks frightened and hesitates, asking the princess what she intends to do. Agnes frowns a little. Though he had grabbed her hair roughly, it hardly seems like reason enough to punish him. She finds it frustrating to be misunderstood, but she doesn't let it bother her. Instead, she explains calmly that she only wants to meet him. Kylo had been able to stop her the night before because he belongs to the Black Knights. There are 4 Knight Orders in the Empire. The White Knights are the elite of the elite, the very best in both skill and status. The Blue Knights are talented swordsmen whose rank doesn't matter as much. The Red Knights are composed of the Empire's most outstanding mages. And then there are the Black Knights, a collection of unpredictable, dangerous individuals. Though they all have incredible skills, they can act on their own at any moment. They are called the hunting dogs of war, striking first and asking questions later. Public opinion about them is harsh, with accusations of embezzlement, assault, blackmail, and sedition following them constantly. Because of this, Kylo has always been alone, discriminated against, and misunderstood. Seeing him now, Agnes can't help but notice a reflection of her younger self in him. In her previous life, she had fallen for him secretly, always trying to catch his attention. But because he was one of the most hated characters in the story, all her efforts had failed. At the end of the first season of Infinite Splash, a major incident shook the Empire. Emperor Alexander Saint could hardly believe what he was hearing. After the war had ended, monsters were suddenly pouring out of private residences. Fissures had appeared across homes, and the temple revealed the truth. The only way to stop them was to eliminate the cause at the very top of the Snowy Mountains, a place called the End of the World. Only a handful of people were strong enough for such a task. The Empress's 2 strongest knights, Raymond Spencer, the resourceful hero with unmatched military skill, and Kylo Grey, a fighter whose experience and talent more than made up for his lack of formal training. It meant that one of them would have to risk their life. The person who stepped forward in place of the hero Raymond was Kylo. There was only one reason. He hated Raymond and refused to let him be the hero. Returning to the capital after the battle, Kylo realized he could never surpass Raymond. To protect the Empire's peace, he left a single note behind. The hero cannot die. And he sacrificed himself. Only in death could he become the hero he could never be in life. In that moment, the man who had been called a demon was finally seen in a different light. But Kylo's story didn't end there. When the author revealed his appearance on social media, fans, including Agnes, were stunned. He became an instant favorite, even receiving a birthday celebration in his honor. Now, Agnes realizes that everything can change. She can alter Kylo's future and make sure he lives comfortably, without the shadow of hatred or loneliness. With determination, she enters his office, only to see him tied up. Shocked, she questions the situation. A White Knight explains that the Chief Chamberlain ordered his restraint for her visit, ensuring he wouldn't run away. Agnes frowns and insists they untie him immediately. Surprised, they comply, and she politely shoves them out. She wonders why things always have to be so dramatic when all she wants is to be kind to him. Kylo, calm but serious, says he will accept any punishment for daring to touch her, even offering his hands to be cut off. Agnes scoffs lightly. She has no intention of doing such a thing. He then offers his neck, and she declines again. Finally, he offers to take off his knight uniform. At the thought of him slowly removing it, she feels her face heat up. Her heart beats faster, and she can't help but imagine what that would look like. He then explains that what he really meant was that he would leave the night order if he had to. She listens, a small smile playing on her lips, and wonders how she could have thought otherwise. She briefly worries that he might see her as some kind of pervert, but pushes the thought away. Instead, she tells him they should just pretend that what happened yesterday never happened. He looks at her, a flicker of doubt in his eyes, and asks if she really means it. She nods and takes her leave. There's so much more she wants to say, but she knows this is enough for now. If she starts flirting too soon, he might think she's lost her mind. Kylo is sensitive, and she wants to move slowly, carefully. For now, she decides to be the perfect secret fan. Kylo, on the other hand, watches her leave, puzzled. Why did she come to see him? He expected some confrontation, yet she wants him to forget everything. He doesn't understand what she's up to this time, and that surprises him. Slowly, he concludes that the princess is a little naive, maybe more than he thought. He also thinks he should have worded his statement differently, but since it feels like he won this round, he doesn't mind too much. A few days pass. Since her visit to Kylo, she has been hiding herself in the princess palace, pretending to be sick. She spends her time thinking about the best way to approach him going forward. She knows that her shameful comments at the banquet the other day have damaged her reputation. After all, it was the imperial princess insulting families of knights who risked their lives in the war. She knows that no matter how carefully she acts, a wrong move could make things worse for him instead of better. So, she brainstorms acceptable explanations, ways to smooth things over without causing a scene. Suddenly, there's a knock at her door. A servant informs her that His Majesty, the Emperor, requests her presence. She straightens up and answers that she's on her way, though a small pit forms in her stomach. Is this the moment she will finally be kicked out of the Imperial Palace? Her family, the Saint Imperial family, rules the Empire with a mix of power and prestige. They are known for developing magical weapons, the only weapons capable of defeating demons, which brought both peace and immense influence to the continent. At the top sits Emperor Alexander, the Empire's ultimate authority. She enters the throne room and greets her father. He studies her, heart aching, thinking about how difficult this moment must be for her. He reminds himself that he cannot always fix his children's mistakes, but he doesn't know what else to do. Looking at her, he sees so much of his late wife that his heart weakens. Even if he tries to discipline her, he knows she won't listen. Standing there, Agnes realizes her father has suffered his share too, and perhaps that is why he appears so unsure. Finally, the Emperor speaks, offering a solution for his daughter, whose reputation has hit an all-time low. Rumors have been spreading throughout society, and until things settle, she will be staying outside the capital, banished. Her heart sinks. She cannot bear the thought of being separated from Kylo. She refuses. Her father sighs, warning that he will make another decision if she refuses. Agnes doesn't waver. She replies that she doesn't care what he asks, as long as she can stay in the capital. She imagines the worst, cleaning the stables, moving into the maids' quarters, or volunteering at the temple. But instead, her father surprises her. He appoints her as a mage for the Black Knights. She blinks in shock. He confirms it, and she nods, accepting immediately. Agnes, like most of the Imperial family, was born with an abundance of magical power. Usually they are assigned to the White Knights, like her older brother, Crown Prince Damien. She herself had never gone on a mission before, thinking it too much trouble. But now her father is sending her to Kylo's side. She requests to be transferred immediately, promising she will fully commit to the role. Her father, concerned, calls for the physician, thinking something may be wrong with her. Little does he know, she's thrilled. This gives her a perfect excuse to see her favorite person every day. Her mind races with plans, how she will get him to notice her, how she will make him fall for her charms. The game has only just begun. The news spreads across the capital. People cannot believe that the Emperor has sent a member of the royal family to the Black Knights. Many think he has gone too far. Some nobles argue that she deserves it, as she has been a constant nuisance. Sirius Melville, a White Knight, observes how easily people talk about others, while Hugo Rodion admits they are not entirely wrong. Gossip among nobles is nothing new. Sirius leaves, unwilling to listen further, frustrated by how discourteous everyone is toward a lady. Hugo notes silently that Sirius may act like a gentleman, but in truth, he is obsessed with women. Soon, Diana Lennox, deputy commander of the White Knights, inquires about Sirius. Hugo explains that he did not want to hear any more criticisms of the princess, even if they were technically justified. So he left. Diana, who has been Crown Prince Damien's childhood friend, finds it typical of Sirius, yet she feels the same. The princess is Damien's only sister, and no matter how justifiable the gossip, it is unpleasant to hear about a friend's family. Saintess Liliana approaches them, her presence radiant. Observing the gathering, she notes that it seems to be a meeting of the heroes of the White Knights and wonders at the discussion that occupies them. Hugo shares the latest news, and Liliana reflects that she never expected such a decision from the Emperor. Born a commoner, Liliana rose to sainthood overnight after receiving a divine revelation. For someone so beautiful yet without status or power, attention has not always been kind. She faces scorn, mockery, and harassment from haughty nobles. However, after curing several demon-infected nobles completely, her life changes. The admiration and adoration she receives overwhelms her feelings she has never experienced before. Experiencing this duality, Liliana begins to desire something greater. Hugo Rodion, heir to the Rodion dukedom and a highly respected figure in the Knights Order. Her heart beats faster whenever he is near, and Hugo, in turn, is entirely devoted to her well-being. Liliana remains composed, noting that no one will bother her anymore, and she does not mind Princess Agnes's possible dislike, understanding that Agnes is a commoner and cannot be expected to behave otherwise. Some men show pity, but she considers them simple creatures, incapable of influencing her life. Lady Devon seems relieved, though Liliana feels the tension more keenly. She recognizes only two men in the Empire as truly suitable for her, the Crown Prince and Lord Raymond Spencer. When Raymond arrives, she quickly conveys the discussion to him. She hesitates for fear of misspeaking, aware that noble speech requires care, but Hugo reassures her silently, valuing her honesty as one of her charms. Diana watches, thinking Liliana challenges others so openly, while Hugo remains entirely unaware. Meanwhile, Princess Agnes sits at the center of the commotion, sipping tea. Daisy Rodion, her lady-in-waiting, appears startled by the news. The notorious Kylo will inevitably make her life difficult, yet for reasons she cannot fully explain, Agnes feels no dread. Daisy notices her flushed face and wonders if she has a fever, considering calling the physician, but Agnes declines. She reflects that Daisy is the only attendant unafraid of her, a fact both comforting and unsettling. Questions arise in her mind about what the Knights could possibly do now. With the war over, there will be few missions left. Daisy silently agrees. Soon, a headache strikes Agnes, and she asks Daisy to leave. The citizens of the Empire continue celebrating their victory over the demons, unaware that peace is fleeting. The princess, however, knows the precise time and place of the next demon appearances. She plans to prevent all casualties in the eastern region 6 months from now and ensures that Kylo receives the credit for it. Lost in these thoughts, she fails to notice her brother entering. Daisy, departing, greets him, and Agnes internally questions the sudden arrival of her brother, noting his presence without warning. His expression suggests that her greetings retain the same casual disrespect as always. Earlier, Damien walks alongside his father, deep in thought. The Emperor remarks that something about Agnes seems off, though the royal physician insists there is nothing wrong with her. Yet the Emperor notices the small details. She did not throw a fit when barred from attending banquets, and she accepted her assignment to the Black Knight Order without protest. Damien struggles to make sense of it. His brother mutters to himself that Agnes was never entirely in her right mind. Their father then proposes a more unusual explanation. Perhaps she was bewitched by one of the strange spellbooks circulating among high society these days. Damien scoffs quietly. She isn't that crazy. Still, the Emperor orders him to go check on her. Damien hesitates, but ultimately accepts the task. When he enters her room, Damien glances around, expecting to find some sinister tome, but there is nothing unusual. His gaze lands on a young woman at the door, the daughter of Duke Rodion. She confirms her identity and quietly departs. Damien turns his attention back to Agnes, studying her silently for a long moment before breaking the silence. He questions when she will stop worrying their father and warns that her reckless behavior will make it impossible for her to find a good husband, regardless of her royal status. Agnes remains mute, absorbing his words. Damien leans closer, cautioning her not to bring any more shame to the royal family. Though their father may be lenient, he will not tolerate repeated missteps. He urges Agnes to embrace her duties as a mage in the Black Knight Order. Surprisingly, she responds calmly, showing none of the disrespect he anticipates. Damien's brow lifts in astonishment, but he reminds her not to forget the promise she has just made. As Agnes watches him leave, her thoughts swirl. She feels a warmth she has never known, the happiness of finally having a family she lacked in her past life. Yet frustration bubbles beneath the surface. Why did she have to end up with a brother like Damien? He acts charming and sweet to the world, yet with her he is irritable and exacting. She admits that the real Agnes would have given him plenty of reason to behave this way, but the older man's warning about husbands strikes her as absurd. Still, she pushes the thought aside, recognizing the time she lives in, a cutting-edge era where airships sail the skies and automated machines till the fields. Agnes contemplates confronting Damien, eager to retort, but she restrains herself. Tomorrow marks her official start in the Black Knight Order, and she must focus. She dons the uniform, noting how it suits her far better than her previous White Knight attire. She imagines it as a matching outfit for Kylo, envisioning herself standing confidently by his side. The maids debate whether to compliment her, worried she might misinterpret their words, and Agnes teases them by noting how awkward they seem. Calmly, she assures them she will fulfill her duties and demonstrate her virtues as a royal. With that, she dismisses them and heads out, ready to step into the Black Knight Order fully prepared. Inside Kylo's office, a knight doubts the princess will even show up, waging his status as proof of his certainty. A few days earlier, the Emperor had cautioned Kylo about Agnes's delicate upbringing. Losing her mother at a young age, growing up lonely, and facing tragedies like the death of her nanny had left her fragile and timid. Rumors suggested selfishness, but the truth was far simpler. Agnes was soft-hearted, terrified by reminders of her painful past. Managing her was harder for the Emperor than any state affair. Now, as a practical subordinate of Kylo, she is to experience life's bitter realities. The Emperor instructs Kylo to assign her lowly, unpleasant tasks, believing that such trials might instill strength. Hugo contemplates the opportunity. By following the Emperor's wishes, he may earn favor, reclaim his dignity, and even exact subtle revenge on those who had scorned him, including the princess herself. Returning to the present, Kylo tells the knight beside him that if the princess doesn't show, she will regret it. Moments later, Agnes opens the office door, announcing her arrival. The room falls silent for a heartbeat, eyes fixed on her, stunned by the presence of the princess stepping into her new role. Hugo can hardly believe that Princess Agnes willingly came. He suspects she hasn't fully grasped the situation yet. As he speaks, he recalls that His Majesty had explicitly warned him not to give her any preferential treatment. By arriving in her uniform, she is signaling that she understands what awaits. She must be ready to follow his orders without complaint, prepared to crawl if necessary. Hugo assures her, in a voice that balances authority and composure, that he will set aside any personal feelings and treat her just like every other member of the Black Knight Order. He hands her the appointment letter, formally welcoming her as a full-fledged member. Yet, as he studies her, Hugo notices something unusual. Having grown up as an illegitimate child, he is used to disdainful looks and whispered judgment. But Agnes's gaze is different. She doesn't simply look at him with annoyance. She looks at him as if he were a pest, the most worthless trash imaginable. It unsettles him, and he finds himself wondering what she is truly thinking. Meanwhile, Agnes cannot help but admire him. His mocking tone stirs something in her. She marvels at how his refined, priest-like features harmonize perfectly with his cold, commanding expression. Her thoughts linger on his solid, broad chest and the undeniable aura of strength that radiates from him. And she feels a flutter of excitement, despite knowing she shouldn't. She keeps admiring him silently while Hugo, misreading her contemplative look, worries that she must be plotting something. Hugo wastes no time, assigning her first mission. Agnes's mind immediately jumps to more romantic fantasies, half joking that perhaps this is her first date with him. But the reality is far less flattering. Kylo informs her that she will be sent to oversee post-war restoration work in the eastern outskirts of the capital, the A-15 region. The Black Knights have been tasked with inspecting the area, ensuring no demonic beasts linger before construction crews move in. To her dismay, she learns she will go alone. Her first thought, surely this is a mistake. She is a healer, hardly a combatant, armed with nothing more than a small pistol. If she encounters a demonic beast, she is essentially doomed. She had imagined she and Kylo would go together, making this mission feel more like an adventure or a test of courage in his company. But now she faces the daunting reality. Despite the danger, she resolves to do her best, determined to uphold her duty. Nearby, Jeremy whispers his concern, questioning the wisdom of sending the princess alone. Hugo responds bluntly. If she's truly afraid, she can always beg her father for help. He conceals a crucial detail. While inspecting the region, he had already ensured that the area was completely evacuated. The village is now a barren wasteland, left with only the scars of war and the lingering tension of uncertainty. Every ruined building, every shadowed corner is a lesson in fear, meant to humble the princess and teach her restraint. Despite the severity of the task, Hugo is confident that nothing genuinely dangerous will occur, and he dismisses Jeremy to focus on his patrol duties. Elsewhere, Sirius observes news of the mission and reacts with disgust, cursing Kylo Grey under his breath. Raymond, puzzled, asks what has provoked such ire. Sirius explains that he overheard Kylo send the princess to the A-25 region alone, armed with only a small weapon. Raymond ponders, reasoning that Kylo is ambitious but disciplined. He would never risk the wrath of the Emperor recklessly. Perhaps this is part of a larger plan to teach the princess humility. Sirius acknowledges the slim possibility, yet anxiety gnaws at him. He fears she could be severely injured. Deciding to act, he plans to check on her personally, but patrol duties call. Raymond reluctantly steps in to supervise her instead, telling Sirius to give Kylo a proper scolding for underestimating the challenge. As Sirius departs, Raymond mutters in frustration, lamenting his role. He had thought that with Agnes transferred to the Black Knights, he would finally be free from her tantrums and schemes. Yet, on her very first day, He is drawn back into the chaos. He suspects that some of this is due to Kylo's machinations, but part of him blames the princess herself. Her self-serving advances and blind obsession have become more than he can endure. He longs for a reprieve from the turmoil she brings. Meanwhile, Agnes sets eyes on the place she is headed to. Back in the Black Knight office, Victor Craven, a seasoned member, reports to Kylo that he is heading back to Region A-15 to finish what was left incomplete the previous day. Kylo raises an eyebrow, surprised that the task wasn't already done. Victor explains that while he submitted the report ahead of time for convenience, the actual scouting didn't finish. The previous day, one of the scouts panicked because her cat had gone missing, and she insisted it might be hiding in his clothes. They had to cut the inspection short in return, which is why he must go back now. Kylo rises immediately, a frown darkening his face. He should have anticipated this. He chastises himself inwardly for trusting them. His mind races. What if the princess is already in danger? Meanwhile, in Region A-15, Agnes encounters a group of Black Knights blocking her path. They question what brings her here, as though she were intruding. She is surprised. They should have already known of her arrival. Realizing the inspection must have been completed already, she explains that she is here on her commander's orders. After a moment of hesitation, they let her pass, though skepticism lingers in their eyes. As she continues, Agnes reflects on the situation. Kylo isn't cruel. He may be sarcastic, rude, or a little insecure, but he wouldn't intentionally harm her. This seems more like one of his devious stunts to scare her a bit. Nothing more. She is grateful that the town had been evacuated in advance. Fewer lives were at risk. Her thoughts wander to Raymond, a young, brilliant strategist celebrated for his ability to anticipate the movements and methods of demonic beasts. He commands respect effortlessly, his skill and tragic backstory making him someone impossible not to admire. Yet she cannot forget Kylo, who had personally fought on the front lines, showing unmatched bravery but receiving little recognition. Agnes decides she will feign terror upon her return to emphasize the peril Kylo endured, giving her a chance to subtly impress. Suddenly, movement catches her eye. Her heart jumps. Could it be a demonic beast? Her mind races. Maybe she wandered into an uninspected area, or perhaps the scouts missed something. But as she focuses, relief floods her. It's just a small cat, clearly not stray as it allows her to hold it without fear. She suspects it was abandoned during the wartime evacuation and notices that it is badly injured. Instinctively, she begins healing it, patting it gently and deciding to take it along on her patrol, planning to search for its owner afterward. Her moment of calm is interrupted by a sound behind her. She spins to see a beast emerging, her pulse quickening as she wonders if it will attack. Before she can react, someone intervenes, striking the creature. She turns to see Kylo, his presence commanding and reassuring. He quickly checks if she is unharmed, apologizing for the error in the report and insisting he hadn't intentionally put her in danger. He hands her his handkerchief and she seizes it immediately, dabbing her face. He explains that some knights failed to do a thorough job, and once he realized it, he rushed to her aid. Agnes's heart flutters. Finally, the moment she has been waiting for. A chance to be alone with him under real circumstances. She seizes the opportunity, suggesting they inspect the remaining areas together. Just as she feels the excitement of the date setting in, someone steps into view. Raymond. Agnes freezes in surprise, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the celebrated strategist. Raymond dismounts from his horse, immediately noticing Kylo's presence and muttering that he's causing trouble again. He hands the princess something to wipe the blood off her face. Agnes takes it without hesitation, dabbing carefully. Kylo watches, recalling that he had given her his handkerchief earlier. A flicker of doubt crosses his mind. Had it become too soiled for her to use? She hadn't touched it, after all. Raymond motions for her to wait inside a carriage he has summoned. As she departs, Kylo notices the sharp edge in her expression. Her furious glare makes him wonder if she blames him for interfering with her chance to be with Raymond. Though he hadn't intended for it to happen, a pang of irritation crosses him. Soon, Raymond calls Kylo, warning him to let the incident slide this time, but to ensure it never happens again. "This is the capital, not a battlefield," he says. "You can't be selfish and still expect to get what you want." Kylo bristles, internally questioning who gives him the right to dictate terms. He feels as though Raymond is already acting like the princess's husband. Outwardly, he responds courteously, acknowledging the advice. After all, it is coming from the Empire's celebrated hero. But in his mind, he wonders if Raymond doesn't see that he is overstepping. He was tasked by His Majesty to supervise the princess, not to play nanny, and certainly not to have someone else chase after her. Raymond, without a word, walks away after warning him to watch his tongue. Kylo curses him silently, convinced that Raymond is scheming to manipulate the princess's heart and ultimately position himself as the Emperor's son-in-law. He despises how Raymond treats him like power-hungry trash, yet in Kylo's mind, they are not so different. One day, he vows, he will reveal all of Raymond's secrets for the world to see. Meanwhile, inside the carriage, Agnes wrestles with her own thoughts. What is Raymond doing here? This was supposed to be her dream date with Kylo, and now she is forced to ride alongside someone else. Seeing him for the first time since her reincarnation, she admits to herself that he is handsome, but he's simply not her type. His frame seems too refined, too noble, his pecs too modest, his demeanor screams well-bred aristocrat. In contrast, she prefers a slightly rebellious, rough-around-the-edges charm. Kylo, in her mind, is almost perfect. So perfect that it verges on inhuman. Still, social appearances demand she act appropriately. She smiles politely, masking her true feelings, and asks Raymond what brought him here. Everyone knows him as the Empire's golden jewel, the princess's most coveted prize. Openly admitting disinterest would be unthinkable. Raymond, for his part, avoids revealing the real reason he arrived. Any hint would betray his own feelings. Instead, he explains that he is here to advise her against any behavior that might bring further embarrassment to the royal family. He instructs her to sever emotional ties with him and uphold the dignity expected of a royal. Agnes considers his words carefully. So, he wants her to stop bothering him and behave with decorum? She knows well that, unintentionally or not, she has vexed him for years. Taking a deep breath, she decides it's time to embody a woman who has been burned and broken. Finally moving on. She assures him that she will no longer be a burden or hindrance to his future, intentionally crafting a tone of delicate devastation as an excuse to stop fangirling. Raymond nods approvingly, trusting that she will stay committed to her duties going forward. She adds that he needn't go out of his way to seek her out in the future and alights from the carriage. Kylo, observing from afar, wonders if she has changed tactics. Perhaps she stopped seeking his attention because he withdrew it, or perhaps she is genuinely heartbroken. Either way, he doesn't care. As long as she no longer plagues him, he feels a sense of relief and a carefree lightness he hasn't experienced in some time. He turns his attention to other matters, heading toward the Crown Prince's palace. Damien is briefed on the incident. He expresses mild regret, but notes that it doesn't seem serious. After all, His Majesty had permitted the events to unfold, and perhaps Agnes needed a little taste of her own medicine. What concerns him slightly more is that Agnes promised Raymond she wouldn't trouble him anymore. Raymond confirms the conversation, but admits her tone didn't convince him. She has a habit of spouting nonsense, a trait that has made her an unpredictable obstacle in the path of the Crown Prince. Damien considers it appropriate. Agnes may be a ticking time bomb, but she's not a rival worth the effort to eliminate. Because of Princess Agnes's arrogance and self-indulgent ways, her brother Damien hopes she will be married off quickly. But the citizens of the Empire are proud and would never accept a royal marrying outside its borders. Damien has been searching the Empire for a suitable match for her, and thought his most trusted vassal and close friend Raymond would be perfect. However, Raymond is not pleased with the princess's behavior. He tells Damien that her actions are disrespectful and dishonor the royal family. Damien curses him silently. Agnes is still his little sister, and she's in love with Raymond. He thinks the commander is being far too harsh. But Damien reminds him that Agnes has already promised she won't bother Raymond anymore, so there's no need to criticize her further. Raymond acknowledges this, and their conversation ends. Yet the incident is far from over. At the princess's palace, her maids, Chloe and Emma, are shocked to see bloodstains on her clothes. They ask what happened. Agnes thinks to herself that both maids are known for talking too much, so she can't tell them the full story. She admits only that something nearly dangerous happened, but Kylo stepped in. She sees it as an opportunity to improve Kylo's reputation. The maids are surprised and blame the commander for failing to do his job properly. Chloe recalls passing by the Knight's Hall where Kylo glared at her in his intimidating way, and warns that the princess shouldn't trust someone like him. Agnes laughs it off, noting that it's just his social awkwardness and that his reputation is nearly as bad as hers. She realizes that improving his reputation will be an uphill battle. Agnes admits to the maids that she misjudged Sir Kylo. He is a man of strong principles, and he did save her. The maids ask if she returned with Lord Raymond, and she firmly tells them never to speak of him in her presence again. She apologizes, explaining that she cannot go into detail, but she is human and can be hurt. She says she just needs rest. The maids leave, and she smiles, thinking of them as her little songbirds who will spread the news. On their way, the maids speculate about what happened. Emma guesses something serious went wrong, while Chloe praises the princess for treating her people well. They also note that Raymond must have done something right because the princess has always been generous to him. Rumors start to spread. The gossip distorts the truth. It seems that Raymond hurt the princess so badly she finally moved on. The story exaggerates further, claiming Raymond said he would rather marry something worthless than her. The rumor reaches His Majesty, and he is furious. The Emperor curses House Spencer, Raymond's family, one of the most powerful dukedoms in the Empire. He has long hated Duke Spencer, Raymond's father, because he had once loved the Empress and had begged her to call off her wedding to the Emperor. Though the Empress had moved on, the Emperor never forgot the anger he felt. Now, Damien had befriended Raymond without the Emperor's consent, and Agnes had been drawn to him. The thought of his daughter marrying into House Spencer enrages the Emperor. The messenger advises the Emperor to calm himself, explaining that the princess has ordered her maids not to speak of Raymond anymore. This may actually be a good sign. It shows that Agnes has finally decided to move on. The rumors have spread, and everyone seems to know. Meanwhile, Kylo is shocked that Raymond actually verbally abused the princess. Kylo has never liked Raymond. From the start, he envies him for having everything Kylo could never get: high status, good manners, and a proper education. Raymond was given everything at birth, yet he treats Kylo, someone who had to fight for everything, like he is worthless. Kylo cannot understand why Raymond, a commander of the White Knights, the royal family's sworn protectors, would use the fact that the princess loves him to look down on others, even royalty. He wonders if Raymond's anger about the near accident is why he is acting differently. Kylo feels guilty knowing the princess cried because of a mistake he made. The thought ties his heart in knots. He worries that the Emperor might punish him and wants to apologize formally, but he has no idea how to talk to a woman. He also knows that being low in rank, he cannot approach the princess unless they are both in knight uniforms. He is still thinking of how to fix the problem when there is a knock on the door. The princess walks in. Kylo says her name in surprise and apologizes, calling her princess. She wonders why he isn't calling her saint, and realizes it is because of the cloak she is still wearing. The maids had made a fuss over it. She notices he won't admit she is in knight attire because of the cloak. Kylo deeply apologizes for putting her in danger and promises it will never happen again. The princess isn't here to hear apologies, but she decides to play along. She warns him that if it happens again, she will give him severe punishment, thinking to herself that it would be life imprisonment on his arms. Kylo thanks her for her mercy. She asks about the region she was unable to finish last time. Kylo knows she wants to be treated as a knight, so he explains that the person assigned to it has completed the task. She then asks about her next mission. Kylo says there are none for now and tells her to focus on training. He invites her to come with him to meet the other Black Knights. In the hall, Kylo introduces her to the members. She tells them they can treat her as an equal while she is in uniform. Victor Craven and Anna Montrose introduce themselves. Agnes notices only 2 members are present. Kylo explains that some knights are imprisoned for crimes and 2 others are out on a mission. Including those present, there are 6 available members. She is impressed that Kylo can manage such misbehaving knights. As Kylo begins to leave, she feels disappointed. She thought being in the Knight Order would mean spending every day with him, but nothing seems to go her way. Anna brings a cat. Coco, the same one from before. Anna says Coco is thanking her. The cat runs, and Agnes apologizes for startling it. Looking around, she notices the instruments at one end of the hall, which have bothered her for a while. She also thinks about how humans who were turned into zombies by demons usually have black hair and red eyes. Because of this, people with black hair and red eyes have been persecuted since the first appearance of demons. She wonders if this is why Anna is so timid. Still, she is relieved that Anna is safe since she belongs to one of her fellow knights. The princess looks at the weapons and asks which one is hers. Victor picks up one and says it's for him. Anna explains the other is for her and asks if she wants to learn how to use it. She says it's not necessary, but Anna demonstrates anyway. The princess finds it fascinating and admits she'd like to have a weapon too. They tell her that at the Imperial Weapons Workshop, the master weaponsmith can craft one for her. Anna offers to go with her, and she accepts. The Empire's progress in magical engineering comes from the violet mana ore found in its lands. The first emperor, who everyone thought was just ordinary stone, used his unique magic to turn the ore into mana stones. With them, he sealed the demons underground in a single burst of light. Centuries later, the Empire began forging weapons from mana stones, hoping that one day, a royal descendant with the first emperor's power would appear. At the weapons workshop, the master weaponsmith asks why the princess is here. She explains she wants to commission a weapon. He tells her that she must choose a mana stone that resonates with her. Anna explains that if a stone is right, her palm will feel warm. The princess tries several stones, but they feel cool. The master then gives her a special stone, one normally reserved for the emperor's personal guard. She picks it up and it's warm in her hand, though the master assures her it won't burn her. He asks what kind of weapon she wants. She wonders what else is possible besides a wand or a gun. Anna guides her as she practices using it, and the princess thinks they will try it out during a future mission. She admits to herself that she hasn't seen even a hint of Kylo lately, and no missions have been assigned. Victor and Anna seem free all the time, so she wonders what keeps Kylo busy. Victor eventually says it's boring and suggests they leave. She reflects that with no missions and everyone avoiding her, life is peaceful but also incredibly dull. As they leave, they say goodbye. Soon, the princess notices a gathering of white knights. She decides to approach since she's the princess and they can't stop her. She recognizes 3 of them and wonders if a woman with them, not in uniform, is Saintess Liliana. She recalls Liliana's rivalry with Hazel Devon for the role of female lead in the original story. The princess listens as Liliana asks why His Majesty assigned Princess Agnes away from the White Knights, suggesting it was to strengthen the other 3 knights. Liliana also wonders why, since the White Knights and Lord Raymond work the hardest. Hugo quietly reminds her that discussing such matters is considered disrespectful. Liliana doesn't care. The princess finds it interesting, thinking Liliana doesn't understand old noble customs because she was born a commoner. The knights continue talking about the rumor that Raymond verbally abused the princess. Agnes notices that Hugo responds, while Diana and Sirius just watch silently. She understands Diana's caution, but wonders why Sirius, known as a flirt and womanizer, stays so serious. He would never act that way toward a commoner. Meanwhile, Liliana says it's unfortunate what happened to the princess, but notes that Agnes has hurt others too, only crying when the tables turn. Diana warns them to stop talking, worried someone might overhear. Liliana questions why Diana interrupts her every time. She wonders if Diana's discomfort comes from being unable to match Liliana's way of speaking as a noble. Hugo suggests Diana apologize to her. The princess notices that something feels off and wonders if Liliana has always been this way. She seems like an absolute angel with Raymond, kind and graceful. Yet she clearly has a hidden talent for stirring up trouble. The princess notes that the seemingly angelic saintess is actually like a white lotus, beautiful, yet with a hidden sharpness. She wonders why the author didn't reveal this interesting detail sooner. Sirius quietly cautions her, while Hugo raises his voice, questioning why Sirius is scolding her. Then a voice calls out, asking about the commotion. It's Hazel Devon, known in the novel as everyone's dream girl and the perfect image of loveliness. Diana quickly asks if Hazel's mission went well. Hazel replies that she went with the commander, so it did. Liliana asks where Lord Raymond is, and Hazel says he's probably in his quarters. Liliana then wonders if Hazel has heard the rumors about him. Hazel dismisses them as baseless, saying that Lord Spencer would never make such hurtful remarks. She adds that the commander despises women who bother him just as much as he despises demons. Liliana stays silent for a moment before saying she will take her leave. Hugo offers to escort her, and the princess notices that Hugo seems like someone secretly pining after Liliana in the novel. But seeing him in person, she thinks he's just another fan like herself. Hazel says she will head back as well, and the princess decides to leave quietly. Suddenly, they hear footsteps. Sirius immediately draws his sword and rushes toward the sound, only to see the princess. He calls out to her, but she questions why he still has his weapon drawn. He lowers it and apologizes. Then he asks if she overheard their conversation. Sirius thinks to himself that this is bad, and wonders what kind of trouble she might stir up. The princess tells him not to tell anyone that she heard everything, because she doesn't want to cause more problems. Sirius, surprised, asks if the rumors are actually true. He repeats what the rumors said, claiming that Raymond supposedly said she was meant for the gutters rather than the imperial palace. The princess wonders how the rumors got so exaggerated. She firmly states that Raymond never said anything like that. Sirius presses, asking what he actually said. The princess shrugs, saying she has no desire to dredge up that day's events. Sirius suspects she's protecting the commander, even if the rumors are partly true. She insists that they keep the incident to themselves and begins to leave. Later that evening, Kylo sees Victor and Anna. He asks if they have been out training. They confirm and explain that they were helping the new member test her weapon. Kylo asks if the princess gave them a hard time, and Anna smiles, saying she wouldn't do that. She adds that the princess is kind and always treats Coco gently. Kylo finds it hard to believe, questioning if Anna might be misunderstanding. He thinks to himself that the two of them have little authority and often focus only on their own interests, but they might be the only people in the palace able to see the princess without bias. He decides that he will find out the princess's true nature soon enough. Victor mentions that Kylo rarely leaves his office, so Anna and he ask what brought him out suddenly. Kylo explains that he heard the princess has been assigned a new mission, so he came to make sure she's informed. He adds that he will be going along with every member of the Black Knight Order currently stationed in the capital. The next day, Sirius stands by a wall, lost in thought. He remembers when he was young and often visited the Imperial Palace as the Crown Prince's playmate. Even back then, Princess Agnes was remarkable, arrogant, domineering, and prone to tantrums if things didn't go her way. But over time, he understood her. Those behaviors were cries for attention and affection. She lost her mother and nanny at a young age. Her father was always busy, and her only brother was cold to her because of status differences. She couldn't have normal friendships and was always separated from those she once cared about. She had been lonely her whole life. People who spent time around her could never truly hate her because they saw her loneliness. Sirius thinks about the commander, who knows all of this yet lashes out at her anyway. He remembers the day the princess went on her first mission, the day he urged the commander to go check on her. If he hadn't insisted, they wouldn't have met, and the princess wouldn't have suffered. He blames himself and wonders what he should do next. In the Imperial Palace banquet hall, the Emperor is having a meal. He notices that the princess looks more withered than usual. According to his report, Agnes has been training diligently with the Black Knights every day. He concludes that entrusting her to Kylo Grey was the right decision. Though he thinks she looks tired, there's another reason for her appearance. The princess tells her father that she must leave early for the next day's mission. He allows it. Finally, the mission she's been waiting for has arrived. A long 4-day, 3-night trip with her favorite commander. She has been so excited that she hasn't slept, but she isn't the least bit tired. She even hides a mini camera in her cloak for the journey. She notices the White Knights' wagon and wonders if they are leaving for their mission too. She knows the White Knights usually head to the nearest region, while the Black Knights are sent to the farthest, hardest-hit areas. She glances at all the luggage and thinks about how the Black Knights, once cannon fodder during the war, are now sent to remote regions. Their mission is assigned by Raymond Spencer, Supreme Commander of the 4 Knight Orders and Commander of the White Knights. Thinking about it, she doesn't feel bad about the rumors circulating about him. Suddenly, her eyes meet Raymond's, and she quickly looks away, wondering why he's staring. Then she searches for Kylo and spots him immediately. Kylo sees all his members gathered and speaks. He tells them they are heading to Region SP3, the area hit hardest during the war. Their mission is to visit residents and shelters, help with rebuilding, and inspect villages under reconstruction. Soldiers will accompany them as the journey covers a long distance. Kylo asks if everyone is ready. The princess affirms first. He scowls and asks if she thinks it's a fun little day trip. He warns that the mission will be very difficult and that demonic beasts may appear in the region. She smiles and thinks she'll stick close to the commander to stay safe. Kylo realizes her thought is a reminder to himself to protect her carefully, so nothing like the last time happens again. She also knows her father won't allow her to get hurt. Kylo quietly concludes that the mission will be as challenging as he thought. The princess notices him standing silently and asks why he isn't moving. She reminds him they should get going. Kylo thinks to himself that this mission is nothing short of babysitting, but the princess smiles, making it impossible to complain. They travel for a while. Night falls, and Kylo decides they should spend the night here and continue their journey the next day. He tells everyone to prepare to settle in as he goes to scout the surrounding area. The soldiers in attendance begin their work, while the princess watches them, unsure of what to do. She doesn't want to sit idle, yet this is her first time on such a mission, and she doesn't know where to start. After a moment, she decides to throw herself into the task of making an extraordinary meal, determined to contribute in some way. Shortly after, Kylo returns. He pauses, frowning at the sight of the lavish dinner before him. They were only supposed to have simple beef jerky soup. He glances at the lobster spread across the table, and then at the soldiers, who seem unusually relaxed and friendly with the princess. He thinks she must have complained about the food earlier and the soldiers went out to catch the lobster themselves. He considers it a waste of energy and notes that she clearly thinks they are on some kind of picnic. One of the soldiers mentions that they thought lobster was only something served in fancy restaurants. The princess laughs softly and urges Kylo to eat as well. After a moment's hesitation, he accepts, though he maintains his usual stern expression. The next day, they march all day until they reach a shelter near Region SP3. News spreads quickly through the area that the Black Knights and Her Royal Highness are arriving. Some villagers whisper that they prefer Saintess Liliana to the princess. Others explain that it is likely because no one here has ever been demonized. Still, they hope the princess treats them kindly and not like servants. Upon arrival, the knights are greeted by a village elder. Kylo asks to be updated on the condition of the sick, and the elder leads him to a small infirmary. Children playing nearby pause, staring at the princess. At first, they mistake her for Saintess Liliana, but one child corrects them, pointing out that the princess has black hair. She approaches them warmly, greets them, and thanks them for showing her where the sick are. 2 diseases have originated from demonic influence in the region. The first, called demonization, turns the victim's skin pitch black and drives them to madness, attacking others like monsters. Only Liliana can purify those affected. The second disease, rarer and terminal, slowly necrotizes the entire body and cannot be cured by Liliana's purification. Only a light mage, a rare individual who has reached the highest level of magical mastery, can heal it. Princess Agnes, the youngest light mage in existence, realizes this is the perfect opportunity to both help the villagers and improve Kylo's image. She steps into the house where the sick are, preparing to heal them. Shortly after, Anna informs Kylo that the supply of portable water has been cut off. The only water from the village main has been polluted with demonic blood. Something is wrong with the river. Kylo frowns, surprised that a village with a river came unprepared with clean water. He recalls that the princess has purification abilities, though she has never used them in such a situation before. He doubts she would cooperate willingly, but he must know where she is. Victor answers immediately, and Kylo moves without hesitation. He worries that if she attempts a bold act with the sick, the uproar will fall squarely on him. and the Emperor will hold him accountable. As he nears the house, he hears cries from within. His heart tightens. He wonders what kind of havoc has already unfolded. Throwing the door open, he sees the princess at the center of the room, her hands glowing softly as she heals the sick. Even his own arms, slightly injured from the march, are restored by her touch. The villagers watch in awe, whispering that it is a miracle. They offer words of thanks and praise, grateful for her help. Princess Agnes, feeling the weight of their gratitude, turns and notices Kylo standing in the doorway. The villagers shout in amazement, their voices filled with gratitude, declaring that they've been healed. Their joy and relief are overwhelming, and they cannot help but thank the princess profusely. She waves them off modestly, insisting that she is merely one of the knights, only following her commander's orders. Still, she tells Kylo that seeing their happiness means the world to her. Then, curiosity gets the better of her. She asks if there is something he needs from her. Kylo explains the problem with the village river, questioning whether she can purify it. He pauses, biting back the thought that she must be exhausted after all she's done. The princess, however, seizes this as an opportunity for closeness. She leans against him, noting lightly that she feels a little dizzy. Kylo suggests she takes a proper break, but she insists she only needs to lean on him briefly. She reassures him that she can purify the river once they arrive, as long as she has his support along the way. Carrying her proves more taxing than he expects, but he does so silently, noting the surprise in her expression as she realizes this is actually happening. Soon, they reach the river. The village elder observes that the water is even worse than it was in the morning. Kylo thinks the princess must be feeling weaker than she shows, having remained quiet in his arms for the entire journey. Yet, she still insists on trying, demonstrating her unwavering sense of responsibility. He feels her grip tighten, slightly worried, but admires her resolve. She assesses the river and decides that purifying it all at once would be too much. Instead, she plans to purify only the water they need immediately, leaving the upstream problems for later. She requests as many barrels as possible, and the knights dutifully fetch and fill them. The princess channels her magic, and Kylo instructs that the purified water be transported to the shelter for the villagers. She marvels at her own success, realizing she managed to purify everything, despite doubts about her ability. Kylo checks on her, asking if she feels dizzy again. She admits to struggling a bit and hints that she may need to be carried back in the same manner she arrived. Silently, she reminds herself that she can lean on him without hesitation, so a little dizziness is nothing. Suddenly, she collapses. Kylo calls her name urgently as she loses consciousness. In the haze of unconsciousness, her mind drifts to memories of her previous life. Gossipers had once whispered about her solitary nature, her mother's scandalous abandonment, and her father's infamous drunken rages that shattered windows throughout the neighborhood. They demanded she apologize or make amends for the family's misdeeds. Those old feelings of gloom and isolation rise within her. A lifetime spent being an outcast due to her family's reputation. Yet, the presence of Kylo, a loner like herself who fought with unwavering determination even unto death, eases her loneliness. Thinking of him as the light of her life, she resolves silently that she would do anything for him. She awakens, questioning if she really fainted. A small, warm smile tugs at her lips as she realizes she was so happy being held by Kylo that she never noticed how weak she had felt. Kylo checks on her, his voice steady, asking if she is all right. She remains silent, pondering if he had cared for her entirely by himself. He reassures her, explaining that there is no serious concern and that she merely passed out from exhaustion. He tells her to rest until she feels ready, and that they will head out immediately to search the restricted area afterward. As she lies there, she notices something different. He seems calmer, cooler than before, yet there is a comforting warmth in seeing his face the moment she wakes. Earlier, sensing that she was having a rough day, Kylo had decided to wake her, and she had whispered his name, which sparks a quiet curiosity in him. He wonders why she did so. The next day, the villagers glance at the princess with concern, whispering among themselves about whether she is truly all right after pushing herself so much for their sake. They murmur over the lingering rumors surrounding her, shaking their heads as they conclude that people are simply too eager to latch on to anything unusual, twisting stories into exaggerations. Shortly after, the knights approach her, offering their greetings. The princess is taken aback. She had never imagined that people would treat her so differently after only a single day of interaction. The change in their demeanor, the warmth in their voices, makes her feel a quiet surge of gratitude. The commander soon steps forward, his expression composed but sharp, questioning if she is ready to set out. He notes that she looks better than yesterday, and she responds politely, reassuring him that she's fine and offering a soft word of thanks. They begin to move out, the mission for the Black Knights clearly outlined. They are to scout the village and surrounding area to ensure that the villagers can safely return to their homes. The commander informs her that they will split into 2 teams for efficiency. Victor and Anna will form one team, while she will accompany him. The princess hesitates for a moment, realizing it is just the 2 of them, a thought that makes her pulse quicken slightly. The commander calls her forward and she mounts her horse with careful grace. He mentions that since hers is not a war-trained steed, riding alongside him is safer, and she joins him within seconds, feeling the closeness as they fall into step together. They travel for a short while until they reach a point where the commander informs her that they will need to dismount and scout on foot. She questions the reasoning, and he calmly explains that the wild instincts of demonic beasts likely mean they are hiding somewhere in the dense forest, waiting to ambush. She asks nervously what would happen if one of these creatures were to attack the warehouse, and he assures her that the specialized structure is secure enough to withstand most threats. Though if the situation escalates, it has a way of protecting itself. As they prepare to advance, she notices that he offers her his hand, a small gesture of reassurance. She smiles gently and takes it, feeling a warmth spread through her. Kylo wonders internally why she is smiling in that way, why he is once again stuck in a protective role, even on a mission that should belong to someone like Raymond. He recalls what she murmured in her sleep the previous night, and now the pieces begin to fit together. He thinks bitterly that for the princess, his very existence is nothing short of a nightmare, and he cannot help but feel the weight of being so deeply disliked by her. Suddenly, he hears her stiffen slightly and questions the strange sound she seems to notice. She frowns and realizes that she may have stepped onto something unusual. He warns her not to lift her foot, but it is already too late. An intense light engulfs them. Within moments, they find themselves caught in a landmine-like trap, a device crafted by demons to separate opposing forces. The mechanism transports them to a confined space for a fixed duration. Panic flares in her mind as she wonders how long they will remain trapped, and she briefly imagines a demonic beast appearing in the small enclosure. Kylo calmly informs her that they will likely remain there for around 30 minutes, possibly 20 if luck is on their side. She exhales, realizing that, comparatively, this is not as dangerous as she feared. Alone here with Kylo, she sees an opportunity. Feeling a little dizzy from the previous day's exertion, she requests to lean on him for support. She admits softly that she has not yet recovered from casting magic back-to-back yesterday, and he nods, allowing her to rest against him. She does so, closing her eyes briefly while he feels the situation grow awkward. Kylo thinks there is really nothing about her that should appeal to him. Her habit of belittling people based on their birth, her arrogance backed by the Emperor's favor, and the way she favors Raymond over everyone else. There's nothing he should like. And yet, he notices the scent she carries. Is it a floral perfume or is it just her natural smell? He feels her hand and notices how soft her skin is, wondering quietly if all women feel this way. Soon, she sits upright and apologizes softly, saying that her strength gave out. As she steadies herself, her mind drifts to his firm muscles, and she curses the demon beast silently for putting them in this dangerous situation. The spell that trapped them finally breaks, and Kylo exhales in relief. She glances at him, asking if he is all right, and promises that she will be more careful not to step on any more landmines. Kylo can hardly believe that she is offering him her hand. As he takes it, he remarks that landmines are difficult to spot. For a moment, he almost suggests carrying her, but he stops himself. She notices his hesitation and asks if that was what he meant. She thinks it is a great idea and adds that she should conserve her energy if she wants to purify the river properly. Kylo thinks to himself that, at this moment, he is nothing more than a servant, a mere carriage for her. He knows she doesn't see him as a human being, let alone a man. And yet, he finds himself strangely flustered. A little later, they reach a small water body. Kylo figures this is where the contamination starts. She notes that Victor and Anna are on the other side, so they should stay here and focus on purifying this part of the river first. She isn't sure she can purify it all on her own, but she can rely on the Mana Stone for extra power. Taking a deep breath, she concentrates. A soft light ascends into the sky, shimmering over the water. Slowly, the river clears and purifies itself. Kylo watches in awe, unable to hide his surprise. She can hardly believe it herself. She actually did it. Soon, Victor and Anna approach, their clothes stained with blood. She wonders aloud what happened to them. Victor explains that the demonic beast kept coming one after another, and the hunt turned out to be surprisingly satisfying. Anna admits she has never enjoyed hunting this much before, not even on a battlefield. Kylo then asks if they found the source of the contamination. Anna nods and explains that the surviving demonic beasts had gathered the remains of their fallen kin, built an altar, and were performing some sort of resurrection ritual. Blood had flowed from the site in huge amounts. The commander commends their efforts and says they should finish collecting the landmines from the village before heading back. The Black Knights do not realize that the landmines they collected will later be stolen. The princess allows a small, secretive smile to tug at her lips. She thinks to herself that maybe she will get trapped with Kylo like this again someday. The villagers bow deeply and bless the Black Knights as they make their way back, their gratitude warm and heartfelt. After some time, they arrive at the Imperial Palace, where the scene seems busier than usual. The White Knights have just returned as well, and Kylo raises an eyebrow at the sight. He wonders why they're using carriages when they were assigned so close to the capital. Such an unnecessary display. Inside, the Empire's saintess, Liliana, notices Kylo immediately. She freezes for a moment, recognizing him, and notes the terrifying intensity of his expression. Hugo, ever cautious, asks if she is all right. She nods, admitting that Kylo's severe look startled her. After all, she is used only to kind and gentle knights. Meanwhile, Princess Agnes observes quietly, thinking that Liliana's discomfort comes simply from Kylo refusing to bow before her. She doesn't dislike Liliana. In fact, she finds her obvious attempts at duplicity oddly charming. Liliana turns to acknowledge Agnes and immediately questions if the princess is also returning from a mission. Agnes, calm and composed, asks if she has been granted permission to speak. Liliana bows quickly, pleading for pardon. Agnes, in her measured tone, reminds her of imperial law. Those of lower status must never first address those of higher rank. She notes with just a hint of amusement that Liliana has yet to master even such a basic rule. Liliana bows again, explaining that the Emperor had decreed that while the princess wears the knight's attire, she should be treated simply as another member of the Black Knights. The princess notes that it's a permission granted to Kylo alone. Then she questions sharply if she is attempting to twist His Majesty's order and disgrace the imperial family's honor. Liliana shakes her head calmly, insisting that this is not her intention. She then notes that Liliana's ignorance of even the simplest imperial law reflects poorly on how incompetent her commander must be. Raymond, caught in the middle, stares in shock but remains silent, unwilling and unable to respond. Agnes walks past them without further comment. Nearby, a few members of the White Knights whisper among themselves, acknowledging that Liliana made a mistake, but feeling it would be excessive to pin the blame on Lord Raymond. Raymond, however, cannot help but consider this act as retaliation for refusing Liliana's heart. He suspects she's trying to ruin his reputation and fuel the rumors of his alleged abuse. The look on her face feels suffocating, and he clenches his fists as he watches her pass. Soon, Agnes reports her safe return to the Emperor after completing her mission. Afterward, she finds herself unable to leave the princess's palace for some time due to the Emperor's overprotectiveness. While she was away, even her maids had left for vacation at their family's estates, leaving her without familiar support. As a result, the full response to the Black Knight's efforts and the incident at the front gates on the day of her return does not reach her until several days later. Her maids approach, curious about the mission. Agnes first asks after Daisy, and they inform her that she will return next week. They then bring up the incident, affirming that any mistakes by subordinates were ultimately the result of their superior's negligence. Chloe, observing her carefully, asks if she is all right, noting that it is her first time seeing Raymond since that day. The princess's lips tighten slightly as she responds. How could she be all right? Every time she looks at him, it feels as if a knife pierces her heart. Yet, she tells herself that she cannot keep acting like a heartbroken woman forever. She quickly adds that she does not want to talk about him further. Emma, shifting the conversation, reveals that she recently attended a social event in Region SP3 and overheard astonishing stories about the princess's exploits. Agnes, with a single wave of her hand, had purified all the rivers and mountains in the region and healed hundreds of sick villagers. Chloe's eyes widen, her voice filled with awe as she remarks how incredible the princess truly is. Even she can hardly believe the tales she has just heard. The villagers, once unfriendly against the Black Knights, have received an enormous amount of help from them. To make up for their past distrust, they spread stories of heroism, some exaggerated, some bordering on the impossible. Rumors travel quickly, and one catches everyone off guard. The princess has supposedly cut ties with Raymond. The man most shaken by this news is Duke Spencer, Raymond's father. He paces anxiously, questioning what his son could have said to the princess to spark such rumors. He mutters that they will regret this later and reminds himself that Raymond should be grateful. The highest woman in the Empire desires him. He even muses that it would be nice if his son and the princess actually got along. Raymond interrupts him, telling his father firmly that it is enough. Duke Spencer recalls the moment his son declared that he has made himself perfectly clear. He will marry the princess. His advisor quietly remarks that no one can predict the future. Duke Spencer's mind drifts back to his own past. He lost his first love because he had been blinded by familiarity in his youth. He married Raymond's mother, who resembled that lost love, and she spent her entire life trying to win his heart. Now, the daughter of the woman his father longed for, Agnes, stands before him. As a child, she was willful, unruly, and always causing trouble. Yet she clung to Raymond, expressing her affection in ways that were mischievous but endearing, almost like having a little sister. Everything seemed fine until that one day. Agnes had made a childish promise. Whenever it rains, frog fairies would appear in a certain pond, and they would come back to see them. It was a silly, playful vow, made for fun. But when the day came, Raymond gave an excuse. There had been no news of his mother's safe arrival from the estate, and with demonic beasts more powerful in rainy weather, he asked to postpone the plan. Agnes, stubborn as ever, threatened severe punishment if the promise wasn't kept. Later that night, Raymond received devastating news. He knew Agnes wasn't to blame for his mother's death, but he couldn't shake the thought that if he had stayed home, he might have been there in her final moments. His mother had suffered in life, and now her last moments were alone. He could hardly bear to think about it. Agnes, the little girl whose willfulness indirectly caused this tragedy, became impossible for him to look at. Even when he ignored her, she never let him go. He remembered deliberately standing her up on a rainy day, hoping she would catch a cold and give him a brief reprieve. But she sent a cheerful letter instead, promising to play again once she recovered. She never stopped, tirelessly summoning him to the Imperial Palace. Raymond realized with certainty that Agnes would never give up on him. Her longing for him was unyielding. Meanwhile, Daisy Rodion arrives at the princess's palace, her expression bright. She admits how much she missed the princess and asks if the feeling is mutual. Agnes smiles and confirms that she missed her as well. Daisy peeks at what the princess is working on. Agnes explains it's an effective pixels device. Daisy thinks to herself that she didn't get a single chance to capture a photo during their last mission because Agnes had been so busy purifying everything. With this new tool, she can automatically capture every angle of Kylo's impressive physique. She's thrilled at the thought. But then she remembers Kylo left immediately after they returned. Daisy wonders where he ran off to when there's no mission left. She finds herself missing him. As Kylo gazes at the building before him, memories creep into his mind. He recalls a cruel voice saying he should never have been born, blaming him for the hardships in their lives and cursing him for it. He remembers the times his half-siblings mistreated him, insisting that the maid's son should be grateful just to be allowed to live under their roof. Even his father had doubted his mother's faithfulness, claiming she must have been with other men because Kylo looks nothing like him, and is now trying to pin the pregnancy on him, blaming him for everything that went wrong. Despite all these bitter memories, Kylo walks in with measured calm. His father greets him, calling him son, and Kylo responds simply that it was his father who summoned him. His expression remains unreadable, masking all the bitter memories and feelings that have followed him for years. Kylo's father, Viscount Austen Grey, a stern and imposing court noble, remarks that it seems ages since he last saw his son. He gestures for Kylo to sit, noting the passage of time. Kylo observes his father with a sense of distaste, though he greets him politely and remarks that he's been well. 27 years ago, Kylo's mother, the most beautiful woman in her village, had traveled from the countryside to the capital, dreaming of becoming the mistress of a nobleman. She caught the eye of Viscount Austen Grey and bore him a son, Kylo. But instead of bringing happiness, it became the greatest misfortune of her life. The Viscount immediately insisted that the child was not his, since the boy's hair was a different color. The betrayal, combined with constant torment from the Viscountess, left Kylo's mother irritable and harsh. She vented her anger on the only one she could, Kylo, her own son. Just as he was learning to endure abuse from his mother, the Viscountess, and his half-brothers, tragedy struck. His mother was caught attempting to kill the Viscountess and was beaten to death. That day, Kylo fled the Grey household, determined to survive at all costs. Life on the streets was brutal. He was stabbed while stealing, nearly beaten beyond life, and constantly turned away from work without pay. Eventually, a mercenary took pity on him and offered him a position as a servant. Kylo accepted and resolved to become a mercenary himself, taking any job he could survive on as tenacious as a tick. Through skill and perseverance, Kylo earned renown as a mercenary and eventually joined the Black Knights. Only then did his father summon him under the pretense of repairing ties with the Imperial family. Despite being an illegitimate child, Kylo understood that noble blood could still help him advance. He decided to kneel when necessary, serve quietly, and bide his time. Yet he swore to seek revenge on all who had made his life miserable if power ever fell into his hands. In the present, Viscount Grey asks how Kylo has been, and notes that he heard the princess is now one of his subordinates. He assumes Kylo has ingratiated himself to her for the sake of the family. Kylo confirms this. His father then announces that his sons, Benjamin and Bradley, will soon visit the Knights and should be introduced to the princess. Kylo can hardly believe what he's hearing. His father continues, instructing the boys to dress appropriately and acquire new clothes for the occasion. Kylo questions the purpose of this, but his father dismisses it, insisting Kylo obeys. He warns Kylo not to betray the generosity of letting an illegitimate child carry the family name. Kylo knows patience is required. It is not yet time to rebel. Kylo's younger sister protests, asking if she can meet the princess too. Their mother tells her to be quiet, but she insists, hoping at least to attend a tea party. Their father complains that social parties have begun without her, and mentions that Madame Ross arranged for him to attend Marchioness Melville's party soon. He stresses that the family cannot let the opportunity pass, especially with one of his sons potentially becoming the Emperor's son-in-law. Kylo is shocked, recalling that the princess herself had summoned him. He struggles to comprehend what his father just revealed, and after confirming, learns that the princess has already attended 2 high society events. Meanwhile, back at the prince's palace, her maids praise her appearance, noting how well she carries herself. The princess reflects that her reputation has improved in the capital recently, and she decides it's time to focus on socializing again. The upcoming event is a charity party hosted by Marchioness Melville, which she specifically chose because it emphasizes diligence and goodwill, perfect for projecting a noble and capable image. She plans to wear a cute outfit, reminiscent of a young debutante making her first impression in society. However, she struggles to find a suitable donation, realizing that jewelry is her only option, and it risks reinforcing her extravagant image. As preparations continue, she instructs her maid to send word to the Crown Prince's palace, informing them she's on her way. She can't help but think mischievously about raiding her brother's wallet for the evening. Kylo is having breakfast with his family. His father watches him closely and asks if the food isn't to his taste. Kylo replies that it's fine. His father then instructs his wife to have the chef prepare Kylo's favorite dishes from now on, and she agrees without complaint. While eating, Kylo reflects on his reaction earlier when the princess was speaking to Liliana. He realizes why he felt that way. After a lifetime of humiliation and being belittled, having someone like her stand by his side, even briefly, made him feel genuinely happy. In that moment, he could have mistaken her for an angel. The thought that his own family might ever imagine being with her feels appalling to him. Yet, he can see how someone like Raymond, who seems perfect in every way, would fit effortlessly into that ideal noble picture. Something Kylo feels he could never even hope to approach. He feels a surge of sympathy for the princess, angry at anyone in his household who dares speak unkindly of her. But he convinces himself that was all it was. Nothing more. Meanwhile, the princess is in her brother's office. As she flips through some books, she notices that he keeps them there purely to appear smart. Soon, her brother notices her and asks what she's doing there. She reminds him that he recently barged into her quarters without permission, and wonders if he expects her to simply remain quiet this time. He tells her that she's rummaging around in his office, where he handles state matters, so he has to be protective. She explains that she's there to ask for advice, which he doubts at first. She confirms it and says she is attending Marchioness Melville's charity event, but doesn't have anything suitable to donate. He raises an eyebrow, asking about the mountains of jewelry she owns. She responds that it's not appropriate. He can hardly believe that the girl who would stop crying as a child when given a jewel is now saying this. Before she can elaborate, he interrupts, offering her the first edition of Grandel's poetry, a renowned poet from 100 years ago. He explains that for a noblewoman with refined taste, nothing is more desirable than this, and reassures her that associating with Marchioness Melville is an excellent choice. She thanks him, amused, thinking that even though he gave her something useful, he's such an old fogey. Her brother adds that Raymond Spencer will surely be impressed as well. Her expression shifts slightly at this news. He then suggests she sit for tea, telling her that a guest is arriving whom she will be glad to see. She's eager to leave, but someone informs the prince that Raymond has arrived. He instructs them to let him in. The princess insists she's busy and will take her leave. The prince calls her a shy little kiddo, but she corrects him, saying she is not. As she opens the door, she sees Raymond. They stare at each other silently for a moment before she finally departs. The prince observes and wonders if Agnes is upset with him. Raymond remains silent. The prince calls to him, and he responds that he is listening. He questions whether Raymond truly dislikes his sister so much. He feels an urge to admit that he does, but restrains himself for some unknown reason. The prince reflects on the princess's simple and natural appearance, so different from the usual noblewomen. He notices the faintly wounded expression on her face, as if she has spent her entire life gazing only at their father's back. For a fleeting moment, he sees the same expression that their mother once wore, and the two seem to overlap. The prince quietly promises himself that he will live a completely different life from his father. Yet, despite his resolve, an uneasy feeling settles in him, as if he might one day break that vow. Marquis Melville has 2 sons. One is his successor, a well-known womanizer and member of the White Knights, Sirius Melville. The other is his illegitimate son, Rubius Melville, a member of the Black Knights who is currently away on a mission. When the Marquis registered Rubius as his younger brother's adopted son, it caused a serious rift between him and his wife. After that, Marchioness Melville sent her husband to manage the country estate while she took full control of the family's real power in the capital. When the princess sees the Marchioness, she greets her politely and thanks her for the invitation. The Marchioness responds that it is an honor to welcome her to her humble home. The princess comes alone without a maid and bows formally. Everyone presents remarks on how mature and composed she appears. Though such reactions have become more common recently, she knows that erasing memories of her past mistakes will take extra effort, especially with people who clearly want to test her, like the Marchioness. The Marchioness comments that she worries the princess might not enjoy herself, since it is mostly a gathering of older ladies. Madame Norris whispers that the Marchioness's hair reminds her of her own daughter when she debuted in high society. Someone else warns her that it might sound like she is comparing the princess, and Norris quickly apologizes. Until now, Agnes has played the role of a mature and elegant princess, but in a setting full of middle-aged women, she decides to take a lighter approach. She remembers that young ladies who recently debuted in high society often have their mothers braid yellow ribbons into their hair. She has always wanted to try that style herself, and calls it the super cute youngest daughter strategy. The princess notes that being among all these older women feels like being with her own mother, and she finds it surprisingly comfortable and enjoyable. The ladies express their admiration, saying the royal family's two treasures have grown up splendidly and the late empress would have been delighted. They also praise the book she presented. Agnes realizes that answering politely and smiling warmly works best in front of mothers. Soon, Mrs. Grey arrives, and her daughter immediately notices Princess Agnes. Someone remarks that they are late, while another asks who they are. The question is quietly answered. The princess notices that the red-haired woman is Kylo's stepmother. Madame Ross quickly apologizes for their lateness, explaining that a carriage accident had delayed them. The maids ask whom she came with, and she replies that it is her close friend, Viscountess Grey. She bows politely to greet both the Marchioness and the princess. Agnes thinks to herself that the original story doesn't go into detail about House Grey, but she knows how cruelly they treated Kylo in the past. Soon, the Viscountess begins to speak, trying to explain to the princess that Kylo is her stepson. Agnes is shocked that this woman dares to mention Kylo's name so shamelessly. The Viscountess continues, saying that Kylo will formally introduce his sons to the princess and start speaking highly of her two older sons. The princess, curious, asks about Kylo. The Viscountess is taken aback, questioning why the princess suddenly wants to know about him. Agnes calmly explains that she recently realized how many misconceptions she had about Kylo. She admits, with some shame, that her narrow-mindedness led her to make mistakes in judgment. Yet Kylo had always treated her fairly and without bias. Observing him fulfill his duties diligently as a commander has taught her many lessons. That's why she is so curious to know what he was like growing up in the Grey household. Other women present comment on how remarkable Kylo is, wondering if he is the reason the princess has matured so much. The Viscountess, feeling defensive, complains that it's unfair to speak in his favor. She then spills that Kylo is the result of her husband's infidelity and claims that he tormented her children from a young age, even stealing from them. She adds that the Marchioness should understand exactly how she feels, since Marquis Melville also registered his illegitimate child into her family. She continues cursing illegitimate children. The Marchioness, unable to tolerate the accusations any longer, stands up and orders the woman and her companions to leave immediately. She calls the butler to escort Madame Ross, the Viscountess, and her daughter out of the room. The event ends on a tense and unpleasant note. Agnes knows that some social rivals will likely hear about this and have a good laugh at the Marchioness's expense. Shortly after, someone brings a letter to the Marchioness, who had requested to be alone. She discovers that the letter is from the princess, accompanied by a yellow rose and the ribbon from the princess's hair. In the language of flowers, a yellow rose symbolizes unchanging love. The letter expresses that the princess was deeply moved by the Marchioness's garden, and explains that it is tradition for unmarried young women who have just debuted to gift a yellow rose and their hair ribbon to the mother who raised them. The princess adds that she accepts the gift in gratitude for her hard work, and thanks her sincerely for the invitation. The Marchioness is deeply touched. She had long suffered in silence after learning her husband's betrayal and the registration of his illegitimate child as a nephew. Despite the hardship, she could not abandon the home she built, the reputation she maintained, or the son she loved. She had never shown her pain, nor received consolation, because no one knew she needed it. For the first time, this simple gesture, a letter, a yellow rose, and a hair ribbon brings her genuine comfort. On the carriage ride back to her palace, the princess still cannot believe how boldly the Viscountess tried to interfere with Kylo. She is certain that some people might believe the woman's lies and twisted words. Determined to protect him, she warns that anyone who spreads what happened at the event will be found and punished severely. When the carriage arrives at the palace, she realizes she has successfully gained the favor of a major socialite, Marchioness Melville. That alone seems to lift a huge weight from her shoulders, as many of her social reputation worries can now be put aside. Her maids rush forward eagerly to greet her. She raises an eyebrow at their sudden appearance and asks why they have all come at once. They explain that they simply wanted to welcome her back. Silently, she notes that their eagerness almost screams of ulterior motives. Emma quickly asks if the princess has heard the latest news. The Crown Prince has chosen Lady Diana Lennox as his partner for the upcoming Founding Festival Ball. The princess is surprised and thoughtful. Emma continues, questioning who her own partner would be, and the princess begins to consider her options carefully. Later, she visits Kylo in his office. He looks up and asks what brings her here. For a moment, she imagines wrapping her arms around him and telling him how much she has missed him. But instead, she explains that she is curious about her next mission. Glancing at the schedule, she notices that she has been excluded from all upcoming missions. Kylo admits that she will not be assigned any missions for now, explaining that it is because of the Founding Festival. She thinks to herself that she would rather spend time with him than attend a ball, and being a princess often gets in the way at times like this. She then asks if he will attend the festival. In the original story, Kylo never goes to the ball, so she had planned to attend with her brother. But since he is going with a childhood friend, she hopes she can pitch the idea to Kylo instead. He stays silent for a moment, then says he isn't sure what she is getting at. Slowly, it clicks in her mind. The reason he has never attended the ball. She recalls a line from the original story in which Princess Agnes banned commoners and illegitimate children from attending, calling them vulgar. Kylo, with a hint of sharpness, replies that he will gladly attend if she needs some vulgar, illegitimate child in the ballroom to mock. She quickly reassures him that this is not what she means. Curious about her future missions, she asks if she can resume them once the festival ends. Kylo answers positively. She then asks if he could accompany her on all future missions. He seems surprised and takes a moment to think, then affirms that he can. Finally, he politely tells her that if that is everything, he would appreciate it if she takes her leave. As she leaves, she wonders if she has bothered him by bringing up the ball. She admits quietly to herself that she probably ruined his mood, but she also notes that their closeness is growing, even if slowly. She cannot help but wonder when they will finally be truly close, without any barriers between them. Meanwhile, Kylo sits alone, thinking about his father's words, about sending his other sons to visit him and his supposed duty to introduce them to the princess. Frustrated, he punches the window to relieve some of his stress, the glass shivering under his fist. On her way back, the princess considers what to do. She recalls the novel, how she had once dragged Raymond along, begging him to dance with her, only to run off later while Hazel and Liliana engaged in a petty contest over him. She does not want to think about going with Raymond again. Yet going alone risks undoing all the reputation she has worked so hard to build, and she knows that most decent men are already taken. Back at the palace, she is still mulling over her dilemma when Sirius Melville, who is sitting nearby, suddenly asks if she would grant him the honor of escorting her to the festival ball. Surprised, she wonders why he is asking. Sirius has always been a notorious womanizer, but he has never openly flirted with her, and he usually keeps to himself. She frowns slightly, curious about what has prompted this unusual behavior. Looking at her carefully, Sirius explains that he heard she had comforted his mother during a difficult moment at the charity event and had even taken steps to ensure that rumors did not spread. He wants to repay that kindness by being her partner for the festival. The princess thinks to herself that the Marchioness must have badgered him until he came here, but she admits quietly that the idea sounds pleasant enough. Sirius asks what color dress she plans to wear. She replies that she intends to wear a lavender dress, the same color as her eyes. He studies her face for a long moment, noting just how striking her eyes are, and wondering if they have always been that pretty. Earlier, having been hounded by his mother, Sirius had arrived at the princess's palace in a sour mood. He admits to himself that while she may be beautiful, her flashy appearance has never really been his style. He also assumed she would still be hung up on Raymond and would reject him outright. But something about her presence today feels different. Calm, confident, and genuine in a way he hasn't seen before. Slowly, he realizes that perhaps it will not be so bad after all. Having secured an unexpected partner, the days pass quickly until finally, the long-awaited day of the founding festival arrives. At the Grey family home, the two older brothers prepare eagerly for the festival. Benjamin remarks that they have always admired the princess from afar, but today is different. Today, they finally get to make use of Kylo Grey, and one of them might even become the husband of the most beautiful woman in the Empire. Soon, the brothers begin to argue over who would win the princess's favor. Nearby, their mother listens quietly. Her thoughts drift back to the incident at the Marchioness's charity event. If the story of her being thrown out had spread, she knows she would have been cast out of high society, and her husband might even have divorced her. But more than that, something continues to trouble her. She wonders whether Kylo will truly introduce the princess to them willingly. One of her sons notices her unease and asks why she seems worried. She admits that Kylo might disappoint them. However, the brothers brush this aside, thinking he is probably busy on a mission. They return to their petty argument about who would charm the princess more. Meanwhile, at the grand ballroom, the princess arrives with Sirius. The crowd takes notice as they are formally introduced. Kylo's stepbrothers, who are present, grow annoyed when they realize Kylo himself is nowhere to be seen. Soon, Sirius leads the princess into a dance. The guests whisper among themselves. Some admire her gown, others gossip about Sirius and his reputation as a shameless flirt. Many had expected the princess to attend alone, but they soon agree that the two make a striking pair. Sirius, enjoying the attention, feels pleased to be one of the evening's main figures. Still, he wonders if the princess has truly moved on from Raymond. His curiosity deepens when he spots Raymond across the hall, accompanied by Hazel Devon. Sirius greets him with a smile, but Raymond's distant look surprises him. At that moment, Sirius realizes that Raymond does not want the princess and likely never intends to. He reflects that many men in the Empire, himself included, have felt inferior to Raymond at some point. But while Raymond may be exceptional, Sirius believes that does not make him good. A man should know how to make a woman happy. He thinks that if he had been in Raymond's place, he would never have treated someone who loved him with such coldness. Perhaps, by now, he might have been happily married with a peaceful family life. Meanwhile, as the music plays, the princess's thoughts drift elsewhere. What fills her mind is not the dance nor the crowd, but the fact that she misses Kylo. After the dance ends, her maid praises her beauty and notes that Sirius could hardly take his eyes off her. Daisy then suggests that the princess should dance with her brother, Hugo, hoping it might make him forget Liliana. The other maids quickly scold Daisy for such a remark. Daisy explains that Hugo is completely devoted to Liliana, and she only wishes someone could break that hold over him. Soon, Chloe gently warns the princess not to drink too much. The princess reflects that she has caused trouble before when drunk, but tonight, she simply feels bored. She wonders how she is meant to enjoy the evening. Then she notices Hazel and Liliana facing off. The tension between them catches her interest immediately. Sensing that something is about to unfold, she decides to slip away quietly, to follow them, and watch. Sirius returns moments later after greeting fellow knights, only to find her missing. When the maids explain where she has gone, he assumes that seeing Raymond must have unsettled her. He regrets leaving her alone. A short while earlier, Liliana confronts Hazel in a quiet area. She questions where Hazel is going and suggests they settle their issues here and now. Hazel warns her not to cross the line, saying she too has her limits. Hidden nearby, the princess listens carefully, knowing Hazel will not hold back. Liliana accuses Hazel of interfering, claiming Raymond was meant to be her partner and that Hazel stole him out of jealousy. She even mocks Hazel, asking if she envies her beauty and the attention she receives. The princess watches with growing fascination, finding the unfolding love triangle strangely entertaining. Just then, Sirius approaches and calls out to her, but she quickly stops him from speaking. Sirius has never been held back by a woman who is smaller and younger than him before. He feels shocked and keeps wondering why this affects him so much. After thinking about it, he begins to feel that maybe the reason he has never settled down is because he has been waiting for someone like her. They look at each other for a moment. Soon, the princess turns away so she can continue watching the girls, but she notices that they are already leaving. She becomes curious about where they are going. She tells Sirius not to follow her and to quietly return to the ballroom. He agrees without protest. As she leaves, she wonders if his voice sounded strangely charming or if she is only imagining it. She quickly heads in the direction the girls went. While she searches for them, Hazel notices her. Hazel reveals that she had sensed someone listening earlier and now realizes it was the princess. Agnes admits that she could not ignore such an interesting situation. Hazel asks if she enjoyed it, and Agnes replies that she sadly did not hear everything. Agnes knows Hazel has a strong will, but she cannot help wondering if the gentle-looking woman has always been this cold. She then asks about Liliana. Hazel explains that Liliana ran away crying earlier and is likely with her fan club now. Hazel then asks if Agnes has truly given up on Raymond. Agnes confirms that she has grown tired of being hurt and tells Hazel never to speak to her about him again. Hazel says this is a wise choice because Raymond truly hates her. Agnes finds this hard to believe and wonders if Hazel is simply releasing her anger from her fight with Liliana. Instead of arguing, she chooses to walk away. As she walks, she begins to feel dizzy and wonders if she drank too much earlier. Soon she hears her maids calling as they search for her. She realizes she has been gone for too long but still does not want to return to the ballroom. While thinking about the party, she remembers how everyone is cheering for her, yet Kylo is still absent. He is the reason she came into this world and has continued living according to the story until now. Everything she has done is for him. Without him, the ball feels meaningless. Others may point at him and call him greedy for power, but she knows the truth. He is only deeply lonely and longs for someone to accept him. That is why she believes she must stay by his side. She quietly says his name and decides that she is going to him. Meanwhile, in the banquet hall, the Crown Prince notices Sirius standing alone and tells Diana that this is the first time he has seen Sirius at a party without a woman beside him. He wonders if something is wrong or if Sirius is finally ready to settle down. He remembers seeing Sirius with Agnes earlier. As he is still thinking, Raymond approaches them. When asked what is on his mind, the Crown Prince reveals that he is considering Lord Sirius Melville as a possible husband for Agnes. Raymond and Diana are both shocked. The commander asks for confirmation of the Crown Prince's thoughts. The Crown Prince calmly explains that Sirius is actually the ideal husband, despite his reputation as a womanizer. He then wonders aloud if something must have happened between Sirius and Agnes for them to appear together as partners. Raymond questions this reasoning and asks what exactly happened between the Crown Prince and Diana that led to their own partnership. The Crown Prince replies that their situation is completely different. Agnes and Sirius no longer belong to the same Knight Order, and they were never especially close in the past. He continues by saying that people often find themselves drawn to someone who is completely different from their former partner after a breakup. In his opinion, if Agnes and Sirius were to truly end up together, Sirius's past behavior with women would no longer matter. He believes no woman would dare approach a man who belongs to the imperial princess. Because of this, he sees no harm in considering the possibility. Raymond's expression grows dark. He quietly leaves the hall in search of fresh air. His mind feels restless and confused. The thought of Agnes holding another man's hand refuses to leave him. He becomes frustrated with himself, wondering why he is feeling something so immature. He begins to think about the dreams that have been troubling him lately. In those dreams, a younger Agnes runs after him while his mother cries in sorrow because of his father. The images of both women seem to overlap in his mind, and this only deepens his irritation. Elsewhere, Kylo continues his training. He pauses and reflects on a time when he once imagined that he might attend a grand ball like this. However, he soon recalls the princess's harsh words about illegitimate children being too vulgar to attend such events. He accepts that perhaps she was right. Fighting is the only thing he knows, and he believes he would only embarrass himself at such a gathering. As he resumes his thoughts, he notices the princess in the distance. He finds it strange that she looks unhappy at an event she supposedly loves so much. He cannot understand why she defended him during her confrontation with Liliana after returning from their mission. He also remembers how she once said that looking at him made her eyes hurt, yet she still offered him her hand. Her actions continue to confuse him. In his mind, she is the noble imperial princess, while he is nothing more than a tool raised by the palace. He knows that if the Emperor ever withdraws his command, he will lose even the chance to be near her. Suddenly, he hears a sound and turns to see someone approaching. And when he realizes it is the princess, he is shocked by her presence. She appears unsteady, and he quickly drops his sword to catch her before she falls. He becomes concerned that his sweat might offend her, and he notices that she seems affected by alcohol. He apologizes as she raises her hand toward him. He assumes she intends to strike him and believes he deserves it for touching her with his unclean hands. Instead of pushing him away, she gently pulls his face closer and kisses him. Kylo is completely shocked. After a moment, she lets go and leans weakly on his shoulder. He assumes that she must have mistaken him for Raymond. The next morning, the princess wakes up in her room feeling confused. She wonders how she even made it back to her chamber the previous night. She clearly remembers drinking and deciding to look for Kylo, but everything that happens after she sees him at the training ground is blank in her mind. She rings the bell, and the Lord Chamberlain enters. The lady politely asks how she may assist her for the day. The princess admits that she does need help and asks how she returned to her palace the night before. The Chamberlain explains that Kylo brought her back after finding her passed out near the knight's quarters. Curious, the princess asks how he carried her. The lady answers that he carried her in his arms. After the founding festival, she notices a small but clear change in Kylo's behavior. He begins to avoid her completely. She finds this strange because he never avoided her in the past, even when she openly disliked him. Now she starts to worry that she may have done something embarrassing at the ball. She wonders if she touched him improperly or said something strange while drunk. Soon after, she notices one of her drones. Although there are security drones around the palace, this particular one is something she personally created. She told the captain of the guard that it was meant for monitoring training sessions, so she is only allowed to record public areas. As she checks the record footage, she sees Kylo training without his shirt. She's instantly amazed and thinks his beauty is so striking that it should be carved into stone and preserved as a national treasure for future generations. However, she quickly realizes that at this rate, she is starting to resemble an obsessed fan rather than a dignified princess. Still, she convinces herself that hardship is part of loving something deeply. Since an even more important day than the founding festival is coming soon, she refuses to give up. Meanwhile, on the streets, Benjamin asks why someone took so long to arrive. The person apologizes and explains that the gambling den does not open until night anyway, so being late does not matter. Then they mention something unusual they noticed on the way and ask if it might be related to House Grey. Benjamin is confused about what his family could have possibly done. The man points toward an electronic billboard in the center of the capital. Normally, such billboards are used by successful businessmen or famous artists to promote themselves. Having an advertisement there is considered a sign of status and success, almost like being honored publicly. But today, the billboard displays something unexpected. A birthday message for Kylo. Benjamin becomes furious upon seeing it. Even a well-known cafe nearby is displaying the same birthday tribute. Seeing Kylo honored in a place he has always dreamed of reaching fills him with anger. He begins to wonder who arranged all of this and immediately cancels their plans for the day. This moment fulfills a longtime dream of the princess. She has always wanted to become rich enough to show the entire world Kylo's true value. Now, disguised in simple clothes, she walks through the streets and takes a picture of herself in front of the birthday banner. As she looks at it, she feels satisfied and quietly concludes that dreams really can come true. Back in her palace, the princess sits quietly, scrolling through the photos she took earlier. Each image brings a small smile to her lips. In the original story, Kylo's birthday had passed almost unnoticed. He only realized it by chance after returning from a mission. spotting the date on a calendar. The battlefield had swallowed the day, leaving it empty, unremarkable. But today is different. Today, the world celebrated him. The cafe is filled with warmth, laughter, and people talking about him. Every bit of money she spent, every little effort to make the day special, feels completely worth it. More than anything, she knows Kylo just wants to be loved, to be seen. She hopes that seeing this celebration will make him smile, make his heart feel lighter, even if just for a little while. Later, she makes her way to the Black Knight's quarters to check on him. Anna, always alert, tells her that Kylo has left for an urgent subjugation mission. It's a minor demonic beast. He insists on handling it alone. The princess bows quickly, pressing her forehead to the floor in frustration. He's the only one who didn't get to see the billboard, she thinks, gritting her teeth. Nothing ever goes her way. The path of a dedicated fan, she muses, is full of thorns, but she's determined. She can handle it. She must. Meanwhile, at the Grey family estate, tension simmers. The Viscountess notices the whispers spreading through high society. Someone is clearly trying to humiliate her, and the thought makes her uneasy as she wonders if her husband is aware. They say Viscount Grey placed a birthday advertisement for his illegitimate son, just to remind the world of his existence, to put her in her place. The Viscount dismisses it as baseless gossip, questioning how anyone could afford such a lavish display and whether his wife might suspect the culprit. The Viscountess points to Marchioness Melville, holding a grudge since the charity event. Benjamin, their son, steps in. He adds that maybe it's Kylo's doing. He had promised to introduce them to the princess, yet not a word has come from him. Clearly, someone is trying to embarrass the Grey family. Only Kylo could pull something like this. They agree. But even if he spent every coin earned as a mercenary, there's no way he could afford the full advertisement. Maybe he borrowed money, using his family name while his father's recent kindness allowed it. Still, the Viscount curses him quietly. He wants to visit the Imperial Palace and deal with Kylo personally. Back at the palace, the Crown Prince suddenly summons the princess. She frowns, curious if he's interrupting her precious fangirl time. Her escort, a white knight named Joshua Cromwell, follows closely. Joshua is a die-hard Raymond fan and harbors a quiet dislike for the princess. He blames her for bothering Raymond. She can practically feel his scowl as they walk. Suddenly, she spots Raymond approaching the Crown Prince's quarters. Instantly, she hides behind Joshua, heart thumping. She understands immediately. Her brother called for her because he wants her to face Raymond. But she hesitates. Joshua tries to explain, but she insists she cannot meet him now. Doing so would only fuel more gossip, more stands whispering about her and Raymond. She tells Joshua to relay the message, and she slips away, avoiding the encounter. Joshua watches her, realization dawning. He now understands that she didn't hide just to spark jealousy or attention. She is genuinely cautious, even a little afraid. The rumors about her giving up on Raymond are true, and she wants nothing more than to avoid fueling them further. Shortly after, Joshua steps inside to report to the Crown Prince. The prince inquires about Agnes. Joshua explains that a pressing matter came up and that she will be contacted later. The Crown Prince had hoped to see her interact with Raymond to confirm whether she had truly moved on, but that plan is delayed. Instead, his attention shifts to Raymond, who brings forward a document. A detailed list of every woman Sirius Melville has ever been involved with. The Crown Prince raises an eyebrow, impressed and slightly shocked. He knew Sirius was a womanizer, but not to this extent. He wonders whether Diana Lennox, his own engagement prospect, appears on the list. Turning to Raymond, he questions whether he still believes Sirius could be a suitable husband for Agnes. Raymond responds clearly. Sirius may charm any woman, but he is dangerous, unreliable, and far from the man suitable for a princess. The prince nods in agreement, acknowledging the difficulty of finding a man as dependable as Raymond himself. Yet, he cannot resist teasing. He asks if Raymond's dislike for Princess Agnes has changed. Does he still hold the same feelings? Well, we'll find out in the next part. Comment below for part 2. Until next time, ciao!